Hi, everybody. The real estate market kind of surprised me this last week, so let's get to it. Here's the Arizona Real Estate Notebook where I have that interactive version of the graph. Here you see. And the big thing that was really surprising this week is you can see the number of homes for sale, and this is updated through yesterday, September 4th, going up and up. But then last week, they actually went down a little bit. That surprised me. I didn't expect that to happen. That has been slowing down for the last few weeks, but the fact that it went down a little bit. Now, part of that could be just because it's the end of the month, there's weird things happen. A lot more homes sell the last few days of the month than any other time. So next week will be really interesting to see how it goes, where we can just compare, one clean week in September to the same week in 2 years ago or 3 years ago to see how it compares then. But you can see that the number of homes hitting the market, these are new listings hitting the market, at least into the MLS, are still high. They're running high. These numbers always adjusted up the last week, and then these weeks will be adjusted up a little bit more. But here's the surprising thing. This is the number of homes for sale compared to 2019, the same week in 2019. It actually went down a little bit. I didn't expect that. Okay, now part of the reason for that is we're getting more sales. Why are we getting more under contract? There's an unexpectedly high number of under contract and unexpectedly high number of sales. What's that all about? One of the reasons for that increase in sales is the number of investors has been increasing. In a typical time, it's about 10% of the sales going to investors. Now it's been running, like in August, 17%. That's a big increase. And in addition to that, iBuyers, which I typically think of iBuyers as just flipping the homes, the iBuyers are buying homes and then selling them to investors. So some of those iBuyer sales are being going to investors, long-term investors as well, and they're out of the market. So let's say you get, instead of 10%, you're at 70% of the sales going to investors, maybe 19% when you include the iBuyers. So you do that for a few months, and the number of homes for sale is really coming down for regular home buyers because the investors are buying so many. Okay, what other things could be on the horizon for the market? One is new home sales. There was a ton of new home sales last year and early this year. So many, in fact, that the new home builders stopped selling for a while. Some of them, or they really slowed down on sales because they'd gotten ahead of themselves. They'd sold so many future completions. So that's going to be slowing off in the fall, where some of the new home builders will be able to start selling again. So that will be new supply, obviously, that could slow down the market or help the market. Another big issue is the foreclosure moratorium. That'll be ending. We're not going to get foreclosures, but a lot of those people that can't make their monthly payment are going to end up selling. It's going to happen slowly. I mean, it's not going to happen in 1 month. It'll be a slow process, but that should start kicking in the fall. So we'll get a little bit more of that supply as well as a new home supply. And one of the things that supply is so low is because a lot of people are selling not in the MLS. The numbers I'm showing you are from the MLS, are derived from the MLS numbers. So there's a lot of people selling, they don't put it in the MLS. And those sales are up like a third from what they were in August of a normal year. So there's a lot more people that are just not putting the house in the MLS, but they are selling. So that would keep the number, the inventory, the supply for sale in the MLS lower than it really is. Okay, what does this mean if you're a home buyer? One, it looks like home buyers. I heard from one guy, I'll show it later, Javier Vidania, who has a YouTube channel. He was saying that we're getting a lot less of where people were, it was crazy last spring. People were waiving inspections, which is insane. I would never do that or recommend somebody do that or buyer do that. They were also waiving up the appraisal. So even if it appraised way low, you would still have to pay extra cash, even if your lenders, you got it under contract for 400,000, comes in at 350. You can only get a mortgage for the 350 based on the 350 amount, so you have to come up with a 50 difference. So people are not waiving appraisals anymore, but you could still get some people that are doing what are called appraisal shortfalls. You'll say, okay, if it appraises low by 10 or 15 or 20,000, I'll make up that difference there, but you have to have that cash to be able to do that. So that's one thing that is still maybe going on. But most of the time, it's not a problem because the appraisals, because prices aren't skyrocketing anymore, so the appraisals are coming in. so that doesn't become as much of an issue. So if the appraisal comes in, then you can get the amount of mortgage money. You can borrow as much as you expected you were going to be able, so that doesn't become a problem. One thing that may be still going on, I'm not sure, is post occupancy. So the seller would say, okay, I'll give it to you at this price, but I want to be able to still live in the house for 30 days or 60 days afterwards. I assume that may be a lot more common than it is in a normal year, but not as common as the spring, but I'm not sure. If you have anything, if you know anything about that, leave a comment. I'd love to hear. Okay, let's go back to the prices. Here's the median price for August for single family was 431. It was 430 in July. I had made a controversial estimate in 4 months ago that prices would level off this summer. I thought they would level off between June and July, but it turns out they leveled off between July and August. And here's the, if you want to look at it, it's on my other website. And I have a video explaining what my thinking was on that. But it turned out to be right, which is good. Because, but I did not expect some other things to happen, like that the supply of homes for sale would go down 1 week, like last week. Oh, here's something from my other website. I was on a real estate notebook. And this is looking at what I've gone through, and I've taken the Case-Shiller data and I've adjusted it for inflation and mortgage rates. And this is all the 20 cities covered in the U.S. You can see the U.S. is high here, and it's using as a baseline January 1990. But if we go back and just look at Phoenix, come on, come on. You can see what prices are really skyrocketing in Phoenix. Here, prices were going up, but then the interest rates was falling, and now we've got to the point where prices were going up in the late spring, but interest rates were not going down. So that added to huge price increases, and we're much higher than we were at the real estate bubble and the savings and loan real estate bubble back here. Prices are higher than then when you address them. The way you could do this is just to now, a different way you can do that is to, instead of adjusting for inflation, you adjust for income, personal income or some sort of income measure. And in that case, it isn't as bad because incomes have increased more than inflation since 1990. But nevertheless, this is bad. This is really bad. There's another guy that I really like. He's a YouTuber, a real estate YouTuber. Javier Vidania, really good guy. You might want to subscribe to his YouTube channel. But this is what he had to say, and I agree with this.
To be honest with you, it makes me feel quite small. I envision, like this buyer was helping. I envision them. I envision, them as a 20-year-old being told, "Oh, I want to buy a house," or getting their first job and then working at their job and working on their credit, and then getting to the point where like, okay, they find someone they love and they get married and they're like, okay, we want to buy a house. This is something that we've been wanting. We want to have a place to raise kids, and all these companies are just like, if you want a freaking house, you got to rent it, boy. And then, or like you're trying to make an offer on the house, and the freaking big companies are just swinging their big cash in the way and just complete, knocking them out. I have to say that we have to stay positive. I think there's always going to be companies like this. And quite frankly, if you buy in an area and then there's companies overpaying for houses in that area, they're helping you out. But we are unfortunately getting to that point where certain cities are just going to be impossible to buy in, and you're just going to have to rent. But the rental is really high, so then in that case, you might have to move out.
Of course, those investors get huge tax breaks, and there's also a lot of reasons that they'll invest in real estate that have nothing to do with real estate. It has to do with their other investments that are available. Let's say they think inflation is going to take off, and real estate tends to be a really good way to invest with during inflation. So that's it. But it messes up the individuals who are trying to buy a home. But that's another topic for another day. There are enormous tax breaks for real estate investors and single family real estate investors. For a lot of them, it's not a home, it's a tax shelter. It's an investment. It's not a home. Take care. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. Leave them. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thanks.